Welcome back to ET with GOTB. 20 goals this weekend, and then there was Brighton and Liverpool. Let's get into it. I'm Rachel.
I'm Sophie.
And this is Extra Time with Girls on the Ball. Well, we're back for another episode. Plenty of action this weekend. It was kind of fall spring as well, so there was, that kind of little bit of excitement in the air.
Very much full spring. Apparently we're going to have a big freeze this week or next week. So
what?
Said it on the news, Justin.
Fuck's sake. Well, what I was going to say was that it was bloody freezing in the shade, bloody roasting in the sun. So, I had both sun cream and a heated gilet on this weekend. So I'm really balancing for all weathers. But that's great news. Thanks for that. Really excited for that. WSL football was sort of spread across the weekend a little bit. 4 games on Saturday, 2 on Sunday.
Yeah, it meant we got to watch a lot again on Saturday.
Yeah, we got to kind of pile stuff in across the weekend rather than just everything happening on Monday, which was kind of nice. It felt a little bit less stressful. And similar next week, we've got games on Saturday and Sunday.
Yes.
At least I hope we do, because I'm working 2 games.
It's
and I can't
because
be
of
in
the
2
Champions
places at
League.
once.
So.
Yes, of course. There were some big results when it comes to goals, and there was a couple of impactful games when it came to the table as well. So we are going to get stuck into them. We're also going to look at WSL 2, which is just getting tastier and tastier as the weeks go on and it reaches its inevitable end. There's only a few games left. So we'll have a quick run through them and the table. You're going to give us your player of the week.
Yes.
Might be an obvious one. You're also going to shine a spotlight on a moment of something that caught your eye during the weekend.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, you seem
I'll get thinking now.
Relatively confident. Plus, we'll have a quick look ahead to the Champions League quarterfinals, which return this week. Before we get into that, this is your weekly reminder to make sure you're subscribed and make sure you're following us across all of our social media platforms as well. We are at Girls on the Ball on everything. Leave us a comment, leave us a review. We'd like to hear from you. What did you make of the games this weekend? How is your team getting on? How do you think they're going to fare for the rest of the season? Because they're still, particularly in the middle of the pack, it's quite tight.
Yep.
And
more to play for 6. I think 3 teams around 20.
And in Champions League, it's quite tight as well. So yes, let's get stuck in, shall we? WSL results are as follows. Arsenal 5, West Ham 0. Kelly with a hat-trick, Russo and Mead. London City 1, Chelsea 1. Goodwin and JRK scoring there. Manchester City 5, Tottenham 2. Bunny Shaw with a hat-trick. Carolyn and Nilden on goal. Holt and England on the score sheet. Manchester United 2, Everton 1. Turland, Mallard and Gabaro with the goals. Brighton 0, Liverpool 0. Leicester 1, Aston Villa 2. Lehmann, Patton and Hansen scoring. It means the table looks like this. Manchester City are still on top comfortably on 46 points. They are 8 points ahead of Manchester United, who are in second on 38. Chelsea are back in third on 37. They briefly switched places midweek after their draw and win, respectively. Arsenal then are in fourth on 35 points and still have those 2 games in hand. Down the bottom, Leicester remain on 9 points, 3 points behind West Ham in 11th, and 12 points, on 12 points, I should say. And Liverpool have put a little bit more distance between them and the bottom. They're on 14 points. Shall we kick off with Arsenal 5, West Ham 0? That was the game we were at on Saturday. In the end, a very comfortable win for Arsenal. They looked kind of at their fluid attacking best, but went in 1-0 at half-time. Thought King Ishemik had a very good first half. You might have thought maybe West Ham were going to try and hang on for a bit of a closer tie, but it kind of all fell apart in the second half.
Yeah, defensively, they weren't at the races, whereas conversely, Arsenal attacking-wise were at the races, especially in that second half. I think Arsenal will be frustrated. I think Renee was a bit frustrated, or very calmly frustrated, because she's always calm. But just the fact that they got that early goal, 9 minutes in.
3 minutes in, wasn't it?
9 minutes.
I thought it was 3 minutes in. Even earlier than that, no? Anyway. Point being, early.
So they got that early goal, and then, it was, they thought they had a few chances going on, and while Kinga made a few good saves, all of them were savable. They weren't they were in and around her area and quite a decent height. So while she can be pleased with that side of things, I do think Arsenal's front 3 should have been probably a bit better at getting them on target. Chloe Kelly had that open goal that she sent it over the bar. Stina Blackstone's had a couple that went wayward. But yeah, I think getting that goal straight after half time was really crucial. I think the 2 times they scored the goals, actually, those first 2 goals was crucial. Hit them early, because when, like with Manchester United earlier in the week, when they were held to a draw by West Ham, the more the game goes on when you're in 0-0, the more you start panicking, the more that you start to struggle to break down a team that defends in numbers. I think West Ham really missed the outlet of Vivienne Asai.
Yeah.
They had no runner. And Shakira Martinez, she's a brilliant forward, don't get me wrong, but she really struggles to hold up a football. So that's probably part of the game that's her weakest side of things. And in terms of like Arsenal, just I think putting the foot on the gas in the second half was really important. And a big shout out to Chloe Kelly as well, who was very disappointed when I interviewed her, because the first goal had initially been given to Stina Blackstenius, and she was like, "No, it's mine." And then I interviewed Stina, and Stina was like, "No, it's Chloe Kelly." So it just took a little bit for that to filter down through the statistics.
It did. I mean, I still have yet to see a shot where it clearly doesn't touch Stina. So obviously Stina was just very honest, because from where I was, there was so many legs and limbs that you just. I
think they're pretty sure if you had a front goal camera, you'd see there wasn't.
Sure, and I think as well, if Stina said I didn't touch it, that's pretty clear as well. But a good hat trick from her. So like what was arguably a cross, then she had an absolute wonder goal from quite far out, and then she also had that. There was a mistake at the back and she pounced on it. There was also Alessia Russo was playing the deeper role, also got a goal. She was the one who kind of got them off early in the second half, and there was a trademark Beth Mead goal in celebration. Lovely little bit of footwork from her to get in and score. I'd say one of the upsides and downsides. Upside for West Ham was having Shalina Zadorsky come back on the pitch. Whether she was meant to come on when she did, I don't know, but she had to come in for an injured Nystrom who clashed with Stina Blackstenius. Blackstenius basically landed on her, and it didn't look like a great injury. She had to go off on a stretcher in a neck brace as well. They were quite cautious with that when it's a neck and head injury. So hopefully she's okay. But good to see Shalina Zadorsky back.
Yeah, I think Rita Guarino, when I interviewed her afterwards, she was frustrated with the small details, I think. She's like, there was too many mistakes in different areas that when you put them together as well, they're not just mistakes, they're like a bit of a disaster. She didn't say it in that words, but that was the kind of vibe I got from her, is that, they've done so well against Manchester United in the week to hold them, and it took a lot out of them. They have quite a thin squad at the moment. Half of them are away at the Asia Cup as well. Not half of them, but you know what I mean. Quite a few of them. Players. Important ones. They're missing Katrina Gori, Rika Ueki. Those kind of players that really have been the core of that team for a little while now. So they are crucial absences, and I think they'll welcome getting them back. And having to play twice in 4 days or 3 days was quite a little bit much for them at this stage of where they are at in their journey.
Yeah, especially playing Manchester United and Arsenal, which was always going to take a lot out of them.
Just also to say that this was Arsenal's 9th consecutive league win in all competitions.
Right.
So they're on this unbeaten run in all competitions, and they haven't conceded a goal in the WSL in 98 days.
Wow. I was going to say it was their 16th home league like game unbeaten, not win. They've been unbeaten at home for 16 games.
Yeah, it's a league record for
a new manager. Yeah. So lots of different little bits and pieces coming in there.
But they're flying with confidence, and you could tell like once they got going, they were having a lot of fun out there. And I think getting Chloe Kelly back from injury, Beth Mead is now back from injury, getting her straight on the pitch and scoring. The same with Chloe Kelly. Olivia Smith looked like she had a goal in her. She was very, very bright.
Was unlucky.
Stina Blackstenius could have had 3 or 4 herself. I think they're starting to Russo again getting another goal and having that was her 51st goal for Arsenal in 101 appearances, which is a pretty good return.
They are missing Leah Williamson.
3 Aussies.
They are also missing the Aussies, but they're going to miss Leah Williamson as well for the Chelsea game. Mm-hmm. So that's who was missing at the weekend. Okay, London City won, Chelsea won. This was probably the surprise result of the weekend. Chelsea coming in off a particularly busy period, obviously, had that League Cup final, had the midweek game, have this game, have a Champions League game. So they are obviously juggling a lot of fixtures at the moment, but also managing quite a few injuries and player absences with the Asian Cup as well. So for this game, it very much felt like a game of 2 halves. I mean, they looked like the more comfortable team in the first half, and then second half, London City could have scored more, arguably.
second game in a row where Chelsea have dropped off quite significantly in the second half. They did the same against Brighton. Yes, I think there are. They start really brightly, and I think the young players actually. It was one of the youngest starting 11s, and they played really well. I think 2 really bright sparks. Chloe Selby making her first start for the club.
Looks really
17 years old, academy product. There is a lot of expectation. Like, people think she's got a lot of potential, both around the England setup, but also she's been with the under-23s recently in camps, but also around Chelsea. And she's been, she's come on in the Champions League at times this season. So Sonia obviously trusts her to be able to do a job. And I thought she was brilliant when she was on the pitch. I was a bit surprised that she was taken off it because she was performing really well and really assuredly. Lexi Potter as well started her second game in a row in midfield. Got that goal against Brighton in midweek, her first goal for the club. She's 19 years old. Big talent as well. Definitely one for the future. And she, again, against London City, looked very, very comfortable in that midfield area. And they looked like they were fashioning chances. The goal was kind of a more direct goal, I think it was, but a good finish by Johanna Rytting-Kaneryd, who hasn't been in the best goal-scoring form this year. I think her last goal was in December for the club. So to get her on the score sheet was good. And then everything just got a bit disrupted, I think, in that second half. They had to completely change the back line. So while 2 players remained throughout the game, they played in different positions. So Vela Bowman went to left back.
Wasn't Erin Cuthbert?
Erin Cuthbert, because Aggie Beaver. Was in right back. So Aggie Beaver Jones had to play. Had to come off with an ankle injury.
Yeah, that didn't.
So it pushed Nuskin forward. I think they were saving Lauren James. I know she came on for a bit, but I think loading wise and Lauren's history with injury meant that Sonia was a bit unwilling, especially with the kind of fixture list ahead, to kind of put her under too much loading. So Nuskin moved up into a more forward position, and Erin Cuthbert went back to right back, which hasn't been seen in some years. I think it's been early Emma Hayes days since she last played in a full back position. So yeah, a lot of changes, a lot of disruption, and I think that caused significant problems at the back, and it led to London City be able to get momentum and be able to start kind of peppering the goal a little bit. They created a lot. Lucia Corrales is a brilliant player, I think. Got your first sight of Delphine Cascarino as well, who is going to be a good one for them. And I'm really pleased for Isabel Goodwin as well, because she got her goal. It's not been the most fruitful season in front of goal for her. She's used to scoring a lot of goals. It's maybe been a bit harder as she's made the shift up to the top division, and she's not played as many games in this second half of the year as she would like, I think. So for her to get on the score sheet will have done her confidence a lot of good.
Yeah, I just to go back there, what you said about Aggie Beaver Jones having to go off in the second half with an ankle injury. It looked really innocuous. She stood on a London City Lionesses player's foot, and it just that little sharp tweak of her ankle, and you can tell it reminded me of how Natalie Bjorn went down. I'm sure she was in a lot of pain, but I also think in her head she was like, "This has set me back again."
But she's also had ankle problems. So if you've got a weakness, I guess, in your ankle, it's gonna one innocuous move or small instance will could set you back. Sonia Bonpasso said today that she is still in the running for a place in the Champions League.
Wow.
But they're doing tests on her, and they'll do tests tomorrow. So not ruled her out, but it didn't look great. And Aggie at the end looked a bit heartbroken. Yeah. So I think
you hate seeing that.
A frustrating season for her, and middle of season for her.
Yeah. But as you said there, London City were creating plenty, and I think very worthy of a goal. You definitely felt like it was coming. However it went in, there was clearances off the line, there was things popping around near the sideline, and it was goalkeepers pushing, Hannah Hampton pushing the ball out. It just felt like it was maybe coming, and I think if they hadn't gotten that, they would have felt very much aggrieved. You would have felt like they deserved to get something. So
yeah, it's just that I really do think it's down to the disruption more than anything.
Yeah,
and that's not to say London City aren't a good side. They are, but they've been having troubles themselves. But I do think when you switch around that many players, it disrupts your flow. You struggle then to get back into a rhythm, and you're starting to figure out, when you're having to put Erin Cuthbert at right back because of an injury problem, then the whole situation gets disjointed. And you can see it with kind of one of the chances before. They were a bit Lucy Bronze was like, they
Everyone
didn't
was
quite know
one
what they
side
were
of the
doing.
pitch.
Yeah. So they were all like chasing around the place a little bit. And
yeah, we paused it, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we were like, every player is over here. There's nobody even thinking about that side of the
And
pitch.
while they're very experienced players, when you haven't trained particularly positionally, it can get a bit confused, I think.
Particularly if you're at the back, so you haven't really got that many people behind you to say, come back here, go out there, watch for this. But also I think credit to London City, who probably have that experience in the squad to be able to recognise areas to kind of pounce on or to see where there might be weaknesses within a squad, whereas some maybe younger or more inexperienced squads might not have been able to capitalise that way. So interesting game. It did mean Chelsea dropped points, but they are still in third.
It's kind of a bummer for them because they'd managed to midweek
Get up to
United had dropped points and they'd won, and you kind of thought, well, that's United done for, and now they just like 3 days later it's back to the way it was, but Arsenal gained points.
Yeah.
So
Manchester City at the top of the table, they beat Tottenham 5-1. This was a crazy first half for Manchester City. They were 4-1 up inside 21 minutes, I think. Bunny Shaw in absolute flying form and had scored a hat-trick in 13 minutes, which is the quickest hat-trick ever scored in the WSL. And I think what was more impressive from this, when I saw the scoreline, I assumed that Manchester City were going to have been peppering the Tottenham goal and they would have had created loads of chances. They win at half-time, 4 shots on target, 5 goals, because one of those goals went down as an own goal. So, sometimes, we've talked about Manchester City creating a lot and perhaps skewing chances or missing chances, but it didn't matter because they were creating off that they knew they were going to score. In this case, they were ruthless.
They were. I would also say that Bunny Shaw just loves scoring against Tottenham. That's her fourth hat-trick against them. So it's like becoming an annual thing at the moment.
If I was Tottenham, I'd just be like, no, thank you. We're going to pass in this game.
Like, they just don't know how to defend her or try and defend her. And she's very hard to defend, don't get me wrong. This is nothing, like, her quality is ridiculous. And the way that she can provide different kinds of threats is crazy. But I do think some of those goals, they just weren't even close to her. And when you have the ball, you know where the ball's going to come into in the box. You know who they're aiming for. And you're not defending the second balls, or you're just giving her way too much space and not on her. There was some clever movement in there, but I do think they need to learn from this experience learn from all the experiences about how to mark Bunny Shaw a little bit better. That's not going to say you're going to stop the goals going in, but you can
disrupt,
do a little bit better than kind of what they were doing. And I just think it was the defending from Tottenham was poor.
It is worth pointing out
as much as City were really good.
But it is worth pointing out they're missing their 2 normal starting central defenders who are arguably a little bit taller. But I think if you watch back some of those goals, and I think it was the 3rd goal for Bunny Shaw, I think the speed that she generates from her header, Lisa Kopp, there's nothing Lisa Kopp could have done.
Yeah.
But if you watch back the 2 headers particularly, I don't think a Tottenham player even jumps with her.
Yeah.
And again, Bunny Shaw's tall, so you may not be making connections with the ball, but you're at least making it harder for her. And
trying to take her attention away or something, whatever it is, to disrupt the flow of her heading ability, because when she gets her headers like that, she's going to more often than not put them on target.
Yeah.
But if you can try and disrupt that vision or distract her a little bit, then you maybe have a bit more of a chance. I know they're slim. She scores a lot of them, but of disrupting her flow.
Tottenham did have a much, much better second half, and it was quite a stark contrast sometimes of the details in differences between teams like a Manchester City and a Tottenham. Like I said, at the time, 4 shots on target, 5 goals. Tottenham created something like 6 shots on target in the second half and had 1 goal from it. They obviously scored in the first half, a lovely goal from Olivia Holt, and an example of how effective they can be in transition and how you can get in behind Manchester City. But their inability to actually put the bloody ball in the back of the net.
Yeah.
And there was a moment where Tottenham had a corner and Bunny Shaw was the one who rose highest to clear the lines. And I was like, bloody hell, she does everything.
She does. She defends as well as she attacks. I think part of it as well, Tottenham will take a lot from that second half, I think, in the manner that they approached it. I do think City were 5-1 up, so took their foot at the gas as well.
Made changes at 60 minutes.
Yeah, so they were able to freshen things up and change things around and give people minutes that don't normally give it. Just make a difference. And when you have a 4-goal cushion, you can afford to kind of take your foot off the gas a bit. So if it had been like 2-1, I think we might have seen a very different second.
Sure, but if Spurs had maybe scored 1 or 2 of those opportunities and it was suddenly 5-4.
They were, yeah. No, they created some good ones. Bethany England had a really good chance before her goal, I think, to bring back another one. But this is all learning for Tottenham. I think it shows how big of a signing Toko Kogo was, has been this season. I think she's been one of the signings in the WSL this season. And she brings such quality to that centre-back role. Claire Hunt, they're not going to have Claire Hunt back until, she's out for the season, I think, now with a knee injury. So that's going to be a problem. But I think getting Kogo back is going to do them the world of good.
Absolutely. Tottenham really don't like playing Manchester City.
No, I hate it.
Meanwhile, Bunny Shaw, she must see that Tottenham fixture and just be like,
this is my time.
Every time.
It's funny time.
Okay, staying up in Manchester United 2, Everton 1. Obviously, of course, much like Chelsea, Manchester United are in a busy period at the moment after coming off the back of that loss in the Subway League Cup. Midweek draw then to West Ham. You know, it all kind of felt like it just puts more pressure on the next game to get back to winning ways. So they're also coming up against an in-form Everton, who had won 4 games in a row as well. So that was always going to be a challenge. I thought they were, the better team in terms of quality on the pitch. They were a little bit wasteful and they could have scored more. But equally, Everton always look to have a goal in them, that they can create. And it's, again, like I said earlier, it's about actually taking some of those chances.
I think Everton look a lot more cohesive, or are showing the signs of some of the cohesive, doing it more regularly maybe. They showed signs of it in earlier performances, but they couldn't put the performance together or get a result. In the last 4 or 5 games, they started to look really, I think since that second half against Brighton, they lost that game, but the second half against Brighton was really good. They've really started to come together and start fashioning goals, but also results, and become a more cohesive unit. I think they'll be frustrated at completely switching off from Melvin Mallow's goal. While United had the better chances, they should have come away with the point.
Yes, just in case you hadn't paid attention, Manchester United went ahead through Elizabeth Turland in the first half, wasn't it? And then Everton's Gabaro coming off the bench again, getting a goal again in the 90th minute, and you thought, oh my God. And it was only 4 minutes of additional time. That, oh my God, they're going to snatch a point here from Manchester United. Bloody hell. Man, you got to game manage that.
It was a corner as well, and they just completely, I don't know what the defence were doing for that.
I need to watch it back because I don't even know what Courtney Brosnan was doing. I don't know what anyone was doing. It just kind of seemed to
They just completely switched off in that moment, and it just it's a learning process where you don't switch off until the whistle goes. Nothing is done until it's done. And while United created chances, they will feel slightly fortunate, I think, to come away with 3 points, just in the manner of the way that happened.
Yes, I think they deserved to win the game, but when it was 1-1 at 90 minutes, Everton will be raging that they let it slip through their fingers. But I think mentality-wise for Manchester United, an important win, because, as I said, they're going through this busy period. They're juggling with some injuries. They're juggling with players, key player out of the Asian Cup as well. And they've got the giant task of Bayern Munich.
And a really frustrating week as well, losing the cup final in the manner that they did, and then drawing with West Ham, a game which they would have expected to win, and which has set them back in terms of European qualification. Not just they've been helped out by Chelsea getting a point, but they still need to win all of their games and hope Arsenal lose to get that second automatic spot. So it's getting, and Arsenal on paper have the better running, because United have City and Chelsea to come.
True, but we said that last season, and then Arsenal lost to Aston Villa and Brighton.
Well, yeah, you never know what's going to happen, but on paper,
yeah.
You're looking at Arsenal's game and saying they are favourites at the moment to get that second place.
Do you think it's a combination of managing the loading? Do you think Skinner's actually getting the best out of the players that he has?
I think it's interesting. I think it'll be interesting to see at the end of the season as well. I think this is the case across the league. Obviously, Bunny Shaw scores a lot of goals, and she's on 18. The next closest to her is Kirsty Hansen on 10. And then you've got a couple from City, Carolyn and Viv on 8. And then a lot of teams have players on 6. And
there's not many strikers, number nines.
When you're looking at Turland or you're looking at Mallard or you're looking even elsewhere, like at a Russo or somewhere else, or a Blackstenius. I know Blackstenius has been in and out of the team. But like these teams need a striker to step up and put in double figures. And there's a context to Alessia Russo. There's a context to all of it. Melvin Mallard is playing out in the wing. Elizabeth Turland's been in and out of the team. He's not been consistent necessarily all the time with his lineups. But if you're Mark Skinner, you're wanting a striker to put in registered double figures for a season because that's how you win leagues.
Absolutely. Okay, we're moving on to Brighton versus Liverpool. This is the game we did on Sunday. I haven't written many notes for this one, Sophie, because I've just said, talk me through this one. It wasn't the most entertaining.
It is 90 minutes of my life that I won't get back. That's how I sum it up. It wasn't great, was it?
No.
It's two very similar teams. You can tell they're two managers born out of like the City group. They matched up quite evenly, and there weren't many chances to speak of. It was very the first half was so congested. They were playing. What was my analogy? It was like they were playing a doubles tennis match on a singles tennis court, like within the frame of a singles tennis court. They were all congested in the centre, and in the second half, they suddenly decided they could actually go wide.
Christ, there's width on this pitch, yeah.
And stretch the play.
Maybe it was the shade or something.
It got a bit more interesting then, but it was like a weird, situation where they were just literally. I looked up. I was going to take photos and send them to you because there was this like whole gaggle of about, I don't know, 18 players, and there's more or less in the middle of the pitch. Like it's just
because I messaged you. I was struggling shooting, and for whatever reason, there's some grounds that I go to that I rarely have a good day at. Stamford Bridge is one of them, and that's because I'm shooting along the side, and I find it really difficult along the side. I don't get many great games at Broadfield Stadium. Now, I've gotten a few good celebrations, but for whatever reason it is. And I messaged you, and I was like, I felt like I had a great game at the Emirates yesterday. Managed the whole sun and shade thing. I don't know what's wrong with me here today. And you were like, to be fair, the players are miles away from you because they're all in the midfield.
They're in the middle of the pitch.
No one's coming down this direction or to the sides. And yeah, that actually kind of explains it a bit.
And it did change the second. I think Rosa Carvalho was Brighton's most creative outlet. They are really, really missing a centre forward. Like they've got too many similar kind of players. And Fran Kirby is a brilliant creative outlet, but she's not a number 9. And she's not a target player. And I think that was a big... I know you don't expect an ACL to happen, but not to find a backup for Michelle Adjaman, who's ready to come in and perform in that number 9 position, has been a big problem, especially when you lose Kiko Seko to the Asian Cup as well. So they need to work through that, I think, and that's going to be a priority for the summer. Kerry Holland, again, driving force for Liverpool. Yeah, so many, she had 3 or 4 such good balls into the box. And just no one would stick out a leg and put it in the back of the net. It was just, mad.
I'm going to apologise now just in case you can hear the sound of my laptop. I don't think it's going to take off. I know it sounds like it is, but it's having a bit of a moment today. It doesn't really feel like working on Monday. And I've just been doing this all day. And all it has open is Word. So it's tired. Right, let's quickly move on to Leicester Aston Villa in case it does explode. Leicester actually started this really well. They managed to get Villa on the back foot a little bit. And, they struggled to kind of get into the game. And they were playing quite positively, Leicester, quite high up the pitch. Villa still looked dangerous on the counter-attack, and Kirsty Hansen had a great opportunity. I do think the commentators made a bit of a big deal out of it that she missed it because she had to hurdle the keeper. She'd come out so wide and then it's taken on her left foot, which isn't her preferred. It was a really bloody tight angle, but it was a great opportunity to have missed, particularly then when Leicester went ahead. Lovely little bit of creative play from them to set up the goal. And at the end of the day, Alicia Lehmann was completely wide open in the box. Good finish from her, but maybe Mark the open player in that situation. But a really good goal for them, and I think probably deserved going into the break at half-time. What I thought was interesting was those halftime interviews that we hate so much happened, and Natalia Arroyo was really quite chill about being 1-0 down. She was just it was a bit like it is what it is, but we've got another half of football to play. And I said to you, Villa generally have a good half of football in them. Yeah. It just wasn't really the first half. And it was the second. I thought, created plenty of chances in the second half. Ebony Salmon came on at half-time. What a difference she made. She was everywhere.
She had a real impact on the bench, and I think she's had a stuttered season. She's not been at her best, and I think she's still trying to find the form of Ebony Salmon for from 2 or 3 years ago. She's not quite reached that level yet, but to have that kind of performance, get the player of the match off the bench, really impact play was crucial. I think, they were a different outfit after half-time. I think they came out with energy. They came out with directness, which is the way that they like to play football. They want to be quick from back to front. And a pattern. And a Batman. Got a
lovely
goal.
little deft touch at the outside of her boot. It was a corner straight in at the near post. And she just got a little dink on I don't think Janine Leitzik is going to want to watch either of those goals back. But from a defender to have that little...
But it was a lovely touch. But also I think just to get that quite early in the second half meant that they could step on and build on that rather than having to wait for the equaliser and starting to get stressed and stuff like that. Kirsty Hansen, what a season she's having, and she's so she's very sweet when she doesn't take much credit for her work at all when she does the post-match interviews, but I think any manager would love to have an attacker like her who just gets on with her work, works hard, has a real quality finish to her.
Every game she looks threatening.
Is that kind of that quiet leader. You can see her directing some of the younger players around and talking tactics and stuff like that. So I think that's key. It's been such a key part of Villa's season, but also her season. And she is on the verge of... I know Villa haven't had a good season, but Kirsty Hansen has to be on in the reckoning for team of the season.
Yeah, I think she's been absolutely brilliant. And like I say, every game, it's not like she does well against teams in and around them. She steps up in every game she plays, she is a threat and will have a chance. And she had a couple of chances. I think she had a couple of really good chances on her left foot, which she missed. So she was absolutely delighted when she put the ball in the back of the net. She looked very relieved, but she deserved it.
I think also the midfield is starting to look a lot stronger. Sean Francois was a brilliant get in the January window. Kendall's now back from injury, and the way that she can control the midfield just adds so much to Villa's play, and I think they really missed her when she wasn't there. And that you can they're a young trio, Mary Taylor as well, and their young trio got a lot to build on, but the signs are there that for the future you've got a really good setup, I think, foundation to build on.
Absolutely. And Natalia Arroyo was delighted to finally get 3 points after a really poor run of games. They got the draw obviously last week, and now they've got 3 points. She shared it on her own Instagram, and then in very small letters she'd put up a big win, and then in small letters she wrote, finally.
I think it's been such a frustrating season because you can't always tell where it's gone wrong. I think it's been moments in games where they've just fallen apart, or 10-minute spells, and before they know it, they're 3 goals down, and they can't figure out, they've never had time to breathe sometimes, I think is part of the problem. She seems to like this time of the year. Once they get set, they kind of go on a bit of a run towards the end of the season.
Yeah, the kind
happened last year.
Yeah, the kind of team where you could watch a half of football and think, Jesus Christ, it's bloody great football they're playing. And then you could watch another half and be like, have this team ever played together before? It's very inconsistent, but when it's good, it's great. But when it's bad, it's terrible. Yeah. So they need to figure some kind of balance out.
Worrying for Leicester, though.
Yes,
I think.
Absolutely. They'll be gutted. And the games they have left, I think they obviously have Arsenal game in hand to play, but they have, maybe not the right order, but they have Brighton, Tottenham, London City and Everton as their last games. So
I still think they've got enough, if they are in that playoff game, to stay up. I think they've got enough quality about them. But you are sort of putting your future in the hands of luck a little bit as well.
Yeah, you don't want it to be on one game, do you?
Yeah.
Away from home as well.
Yeah.
Okay, can you give me your player of the week, please?
So, I know you said I think I know which one this is going to be, but I think it's going to go to 2.
Okay.
If possible.
Right.
Just because, so Bunny Shaw is Bunny Shaw, and she is brilliant, and 13-minute hat-trick, 18th goal, 16th, 17th, 18th goal of the season. Flying,
18 goals in 18
she's
games.
The best striker in the league, if not the world at the moment, in terms of her, the way that she puts the ball in the back of the net and her movement and everything else that she can add to Manchester City. And she is the headline act, which is all scoring, all firing. There's no one better at what she does. So right up there. But I'm also going to go with Chloe Kelly.
Okay.
Just because she got a hat-trick as well. She's had such a disrupted season in terms of injury, came in with a knee issue, had that knee ligament problem in November or just early December, kept her out to the end of January. And now she's back in, and that was her second 90 minutes straight. and to come back with a hat-trick at the Emirates. She is that kind of character player, and I think it's like, as I said before, the perfect timing for Arsenal to have those kind of players come back.
Okay, I don't mind you having to, because if Bunny Shaw wasn't in there, I was going to have to take matters into my own hands. Okay, shine a spotlight on...
It's hard. I think I'm going to go for maybe Chloe Kelly's second goal. Yeah. There was a lovely pass into Blackstenius.
Yes.
That just opened up the pitch. The lovely touch from Blackstenius into the path of Chloe Kelly, and she just let rip from outside the box.
What was good about that was that Blackstenius' movement, the ball was coming from left to right, and Blackstenius' movement was coming to the right, and the ball then was passed out to the right. So all of the defenders then were going that direction, but Chloe Kelly, you would naturally think, would take it into that space. She cut it back and took the shot to the left of those defenders whose momentum had taken them the other way, which kind of made...
It's just a lovely example of Arsenal's attacking play when it's at its I asked Chloe Kelly at the end, about that link up with the strikers, and I think it was Russo with the passing, and with Russo and Olivia Smith and Stina Blackstenius, and she said, they've been working on it in training. They're full of confidence at the moment. Those relationships are really building up. They understand each other. They're having fun playing together, I think, as well. And that was a pure example of that.
Okay, before my laptop dies, let's run through WSL 2. These are the results. Durham 0, Southampton 0, Birmingham 2, Sheffield United 1, Bristol City 2, Charlton 1, Nottingham Forest 2, Ipswich 0, Portsmouth 0, Sunderland 1, Newcastle 0, Crystal Palace 0. Also worth pointing out that there were games midweek as well. Newcastle 2, Birmingham City 0, Sunderland 2, Sheffield 2. Now, midweek, when Birmingham lost, I thought all of this thing I've been saying about there being so many points between them, and on the last day Birmingham could catch up, and now that's not going to happen. And then Bristol went and beat Charlton, and it is still the case.
How funny is it that in both leagues, the midweek results got kind of cancelled out?
Yeah, the weekend results.
Big win for Birmingham.
Yeah.
Big win for Bristol as well, in terms of their fight for third. They're still just about in it.
Well, it means that the table looks like this. Charlton are still on top on 41 points with 19 games played. Only they and Portsmouth have played 19 games so far this season. Birmingham City are in second on 35 points with 1 game in hand. So that's 6 points behind Charlton. Crystal Palace are in third on 32 points. Newcastle are in fourth on 31 points. And Bristol are in fifth on 30 points. So it is Bristol City are still in with a chance of third place.
It can still come down to the final day of the season.
Well, what makes it very exciting is that this weekend coming, Bristol City are playing Birmingham and Crystal Palace are playing Charlton. So everything could change next weekend or next week on the next
and Crystal Palace and Charlton playing at Selhurst Park as well. So it's
very exciting. Down the bottom, Portsmouth are on 14 points. Ipswich are above in 11th on 14 points, but with 2 less games played. Sheffield and Durham are both on 15 points in 10th and 9th respectively, but Durham have played an extra game over Sheffield and Ipswich. So still a little bit tight down there.
Still a lot of work to do, I think, for Portsmouth. They've had a boost in form, but I do think they're probably favourites at the moment to go down.
Yeah, but the next couple of weekends are going to be wild.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see how it plays out. Okay, Champions League quarterfinals are back this week. We've got Wolfsburg versus Lyon, Real Madrid versus Barcelona, Manchester United versus Bayern Munich, and Arsenal versus Chelsea. Some really, really tasty fixtures. And while I don't necessarily think the new format has produced any underdogs or unexpected teams necessarily, maybe Manchester United getting through to the quarterfinals is pretty good. You've still got your big dogs in there, and your big dogs are playing each other. Tasty fixtures. How do you see these going? Lyon and Barca to go through?
Yeah, I think Barcelona will beat Real Madrid. And Lyon Wolfsburg, I think Wolfsburg are still going through that up-down phase at the moment. Lyon have been pretty good, I think, in the Champions League this season. For the teams, I think United...
Yeah, let's talk about English teams. United, Bayern Munich, that's going to be tricky.
Tough. Bayern very tricky.
Some form in their league.
Yeah, they're in good form. And I think having the second leg at home for Bayern Munich is big as well, to be at the Allianz. They do have their weaknesses, that's for sure. And we saw that, even in the win over Arsenal in the league phase, they were 2-0 down. So they do have weaknesses there that United could exploit, but I think Munich are probably the favourites to go through that one.
Absolutely.
Arsenal, Chelsea, I can't call this. No. I think this is fascinating and probably the most like intense fixture you could have at this stage. I know we had Chelsea City last season, and that's always a really good game. But I do think when you look at where both teams are at the moment, the injuries and absences that they have, it's going to be so intriguing to see how match up. When you look at the games so far this season between them, the draw at the Emirates, which Arsenal probably felt that they should have won, but Chelsea played pretty well in. And then the win at Stamford Bridge, you can't really call which way this is going to go. And especially when you factor in that it's going to be played over 2 legs. The Emirates tomorrow night, Tuesday night, will be rocking, as well, I'm sure, Stamford Bridge the following week. So it's just the kind of games that you kind of want to cover as a football journalist or a football fan.
I just think as well, with the players missing from the Asian Cup for both teams, obviously not going to be back in time. I'm pretty sure they've landed back in the country like today and tomorrow. For the players that they're missing injury-wise, key players that both teams are missing injury-wise, you're just like, yeah, as you say, really hard to call. And yeah, it's exciting.
And both coaches can have things up their sleeves.
They can.
So
what did Sonia say when she was asked about players? Because understandably, like, they've had a game of the weekend, they're managing players, loading. Players are going, like, generally when it's such a short break, they don't get a full training session in between. And as both coaches have said, that like players are on their own personal programs, but neither side, I think, fielded necessarily all of their players in training. So that's, of course, set tongues wagging. And I think it was Chelsea only had 8 outfield players. Someone asked the question in the press conference and Sonia said, are we playing World Sevens or something like that, which is quite funny.
They know what they're doing as well. Like, while there is no doubt injury crises injury issues in both clubs, I think actually Chelsea's injury crisis is much worse than Arsenal's. Mm-hmm. But like, while there are injury problems and absences, I do think they're both playing a bit of chicken here.
I love it.
I don't think there are only 8 fit outfield players for Chelsea. I think they were probably inside doing some training.
That's what I mean. Like, they're doing their own individual stuff.
Aaron Cuthbert was like, we were in the gym or doing an analysis, because they've had a 3-game week. They are, as you say, on different programs, different schedules, and have different loading abilities, and everything is geared towards getting them on the pitch.
In prime position.
On Tuesday evening, able to perform, and if that means less time on the training field, then so be it.
Okay, any other business? I'm going to say congratulations to Japan for winning the Asian Cup. They beat Australia 1-0 with Tottenham loanee Micah Hamano getting the all-important goal. They, of course, were favourites to win. Probably, arguably the best team in the tournament, but I think Australia can very much hold their heads high.
They are fun, though.
I know, hang on. I'm giving Australia their kudos. Another impressive performance at a home tournament. They do really well when they're playing at home in Australia. They love to play there. The crowds were unbelievable. So they put on a very good tournament and they could be very proud of that. But I can imagine it's quite gutting to lose just the 1-0. But yes, Japan are very fun to watch. I think they've come through that kind of transition period that they were going through for a couple of years and looking like they're starting to peak in perfect time before a World Cup. So this would be a huge boost for them going into next year's World Cup, and they are a very enjoyable team to watch.
Yeah, they have world-class players and who will be in their prime next summer in Brazil. And this win will only spur them on, I think. Nils Nilsson is the character as well. He is very fun. His press conferences are entertaining.
Just Google his name or put it into Twitter and you'll come up with some very funny clips from him.
It's a weird analogy about honey and shit. And bees.
It's like asking a bee why a fly prefers shit to honey or something like that. Sure.
No, but he's and then he was going on about not having a bar to drink in afterwards because, as we know, going out in Sydney after a game is not
a nightmare.
Very, very hard to find a drink past 9 o'clock.
Anyway, there's plenty going on this week. There's plenty going on next weekend in both WSL, WSL 2. Things could change. There's going to be loads to talk about in next week's episode. You won't miss any of our coverage if you are subscribed and following us across our socials. Otherwise, join us again next week where we'll chat through everything. See you then.